and that glitch is still there. I'm going to, after class, just delete those design files entirely, recreate them from scratch, and see if that solves the problem. I think I've corrupted my design file long ago, and it just keeps manifesting itself in weird ways. I may have something to do with the fact that that's the same design file I use to do demonstrations of, let's see, security, the gallery, presets. What else do I use that for? At least those three things. So I've monkeyed with that a couple of thousand times. It's an old design file. Let me get this out of the way. There's your full screen mode. Alright. Any questions so far, what we've done? Again, we blew through that pretty quickly because you guys already know how the interface works, so don't want to waste your time on that. And most of you I know, and most of you are fairly advanced users, so okay, we're all good with design file security? Okay, cool. To show you box security, I'm going to need to have my rack turned on. Here we go. One of the security problems with any DSP really has always been the fact that if someone has physical access to the DSP and they have the right software and the right cable, right connection device, they can do some pretty naughty things to your system. Now, a lot of people would say, okay, so physically secure your network. Well, that's possible, but there's no way to secure it from the people who work on it every day. So the biggest security risk at that point is a disgruntled employee. Let's take a blue 16 and throw it up here. And let's say that here's my programming for it. Okay, this is what I get paid the big bucks for, folks. There's my programming. I hit the go button, load my program, and I'm good to go. Stuck out of the session. Really? Alright, hang on, folks. For some reason, we've got somebody who can't get in to see my screen, so I'll cancel sharing and hit the button again. See if that fixes it. Okay, so I've loaded my design file. And I've created control panels, and I've put passwords on them, and everything's good, right? Nobody can monkey with my system because I got passwords on all my control panels. You have to have a password to log in, right? Great. Well, that's not entirely true, because when Zippy, the disgruntled employee, gets upset and decides he wants to quit, and he's mad because he was slighted in some way, he can take London Architect, which is on the computer at work, obviously, because that computer controls the system, and he can grab your device off the network or create a new device at home, whatever the heck he wants to do. And we can go ahead and just real quickly here create a quick little nightmare scenario. Let's say we take a gain object and unmute everything first of all, and then do this. What's going to happen when the signal goes through this gain? It's going to be plus 20 dB, right? Plus 10 and plus 10. So this is an instant plus 20 dB boost to my signal. If I have two of them, then it's plus 40 dB. If I've got three of them, it's plus 60. If I got five of them, plus 100. If I've got seven of them, plus 140. Now, I don't... Oops. What happened there? It's interesting. There we go. I don't care how good your system is. With 140 dB of gain, you're going to have full-scale white noise on the output. Because that, let's pretend you've got a noise floor of negative 120 dB. Okay, we just bumped that noise by 140 dB, which puts it at plus 20. So you've now got full-scale white noise on the output. And all Zippy has to do is hit the run button, and your carefully created design file with all of its passwords has just been replaced by this kill design file. Designed to blow things up. So he gets to load this file up, giggle at how cute and smart he is, turn off the system. Hopefully the power amps are turned off to start with. Power everything down and go home. Next day when somebody comes in and turns it on, boom. Things are going to get ugly really quick. And there's no way to stop that from happening. If you've got a sound green, if you've got, go down the list of all the DSP products out there, all the various programmable products, there's no way to stop that from happening. With London Architects and Sound of London, there is a way to stop that from happening. And the way you stop that is a thing called box security. Let's save this design file and call it kill. Let's go back to my original design, which if I were smart I would have saved, but luckily it's a fairly quick programming job. It doesn't take too long. There we go. Let's load this back up into our device. Now our program that we want to have loaded is loaded, ready to go. How do we stop Zippy from overwriting our program? Well, we do a thing called Tools, Set Up Box Security Settings. First of all, you're about to enable box security. If the password is forgotten, you'll be required to return this device to BSS Audio. If the password is forgotten, you'll be required to return the device to BSS Audio. If the password is forgotten, you will be required to return the device to BSS Audio. I just told you 3 times. 3 times I told you, if the password is forgotten, you'll be required to return the device to BSS Audio. That's 4. Okay? Now, just because you take a gun safety class doesn't mean you can't blow your foot off by accident. So I'm telling you this, so when you blow your foot off by accident, you know it's not my fault. Because if the password is forgotten, you'll be required to return the device to BSS Audio. Now, why would you have to return the device to BSS Audio? That doesn't make any sense. Well, here's why. Let's enable box security, and let's create a password. Hit OK. Hit close. Now, this design file now has that box security password embedded within it. The device, the box, still has nothing. But when I hit go online, you're about to enable box security. Box security. If the password is forgotten, you'll be required to return the device to BSS Audio. That's 5. When I hit the load button, what's going to happen is this design file is going to be loaded into my Blue 16. Every device has as its device password, its box password, whatever the box password was of the last design file loaded to it. The most recently loaded design file, box security password. So in this case, when I hit the button, I'm now setting my box security password on that Blue 16 to dog, which is my password to this design file. Hit OK. Now why does this matter? Look right down here. Blue 16.1 secure. That device now has a box security password. If I want to load a design file to that box, that design file must have embedded within it the box security password, or I have to type in the password, one of the two. So now when Zippy comes along, creates his masterpiece, hits the button to load his design file, what's the password, Zippy? he doesn't have the password. There's no way to load that design file into the box because you don't have the password. This allows you to take Salad-blended devices and effectively turn them into dedicated devices. When you purchase a VCR, do you then have some way to reprogram that VCR a year from now, 6 months from now, 4 years from now? No. When you purchase a Salad-blended device, it's possible to reprogram the device anytime, unless box security is turned on. If box security is turned on, then you can only reprogram the device using the original password or the original design file. That's right, the original design file. If you're going to use box security, you must use design file security. Because if you don't, you just wasted your time. If you use box security but don't use design file security, then all that malicious person has to do is take your design file that you're using every day, go in and delete whatever the original programming is, and paste in the malicious programming, or program in the malicious programming, whatever works. So you have to have design file security to stop anyone from modifying your design file. Box security will require that only that design file is allowed to be uploaded. Now, if for whatever reason you want to have 4 different design files for your facility that are all used in different scenarios. Now, in theory, you can do that with configurations, but some people like to use different design files. Okay, no big deal. If you've got different design files for your facility and you want to use box security, just set the same box security password to all the design files. No big deal. Set them all to dog, or set them all to, chocolate bunny rabbit, whatever you want to set it to. Now, how do we get rid of box security? If we've assigned box security and we want to get rid of it, there's a couple of ways to do it. The first way is to just turn it off in the design file. Tools, set up box security, turn it off. Now, you have to have the password to turn it off. Kind of dumb otherwise, wouldn't it? Now this design file has no box security password. I go to upload it. The box still has a password. The design file doesn't. So the box wants to know, what's my password? Okay. It loads the design file up. What is the box security password for every device? It's the box security password of the most recently uploaded design file. The most recently uploaded design file to this Blue 16 had no box security password. So now the Blue 16 has no box security password. There it is, unsecure. If I turn that box security password back on, I've read and understood the information above. What's the information above? Its password is forgotten. You're required to return the device to BSS Audio. If you put a password on this, box security password on this, and then lose it, there's no reset in the field. You got to send it back to the factory. Not your local distributor, for those of you that are overseas, but the factory. It's ridiculous. But do you want real security, or do you want fake, kind of halfway security? So here's my device. It's been secured again. Now, instead of turning off box security in that design file, I can create a new design file with nothing in it. Just put the device in there, no programming. Load that design file. It's going to ask me for the password. And load it up. Now that device has effectively no programming, and the box security password has been removed. Look right there, it's not secure anymore. That's how you keep your system truly secure. More and more these days, especially with devices like London where you're on a Ethernet network, more and more physical security isn't enough. There are a lot of people who have physical access to the devices that we don't necessarily want to give carte blanche access to. If you have London boxes in an amplifier room, the IT guys have to have access to the amplifier room because there's network switches in there because the Ethernet network is what London is on. So now all the IT guys have access to your devices. Box security solves that problem. Now, box security also opens a whole new can of worms if you're not using it. If you're not using it, and the employee gets upset, and the employee knows about box security, now you got a real problem. Because they can lock your device, leave, there's no way to fix it. So using box security is a pretty okay idea. You might want to turn it on and start using it. Be very, 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 very careful you don't lose the password, though. If you do, you have to unrack it and ship it back to Salt Lake City. Not fun. Not fun at all. There is a danger to box security, and that is the lost password. Why is it a danger? Because, let's go through the process again. Tools, set up box security password. Click on those, put the password in. I typed the password twice, right? Hit OK, hit close, go online. Go offline at the end of the day, come back in tomorrow, go back online. Go offline at the end of the day, come back tomorrow, go back online. I did this for 2 years. 700 plus days later, I've gone online 700 times. How many times did I type in the box security password? Exactly twice. Once you set up box security, you never have to type that password again. So it's really, really easy to forget the password. It's stupidly simple to forget the password. So document your box security passwords. Document your box security passwords. Any questions on that? Alright, let me get the box security pulled off this device real fast. So I don't forget the password. And I just want to show you guys a quick example. Let me pause that when I go open the design file because it's going to make WebEx go really slow if I make WebEx watch the whole navigate to a new design file issue. There it is. I wanted to show you an example of default control panels being used in security. A lot of people, when we talk about that, the fact that you can use default control panels, and it doesn't really penetrate. So you still end up thinking, okay, why do I care? Why does this matter? I'm going to show you this one design file, which is, there are a lot of other examples I could show you, but this one really points out what a pain in the butt it saves you. Assuming, of course, it'll ever load. There we go. Okay. On this design file, when I set it up, there you go. There's the actual control panel. This is for the Experimental Music Performing Arts Center at Rensselaer Polytechnic Institute in Albany, New York. And all these various lines you see here are output zones. Lots and lots and lots of output zones. Every output zone has a source selector, a gain control, a delay, and an EQ. Yeah, EQ for every stinking one. Now, if I wanted to use all custom control panels, I would have had to go in and create a custom control panel for every one of those stupid EQs. Every one of them. Knowing full well the customer will probably never touch that EQ from the day I walk off the job site, because we tuned the place before we left. So what are the odds they're ever going to even touch that EQ? And yet I'm going to invest an hour of my time, a couple hours of my time, creating all these stupid control panels? No. Pain in the rear. Instead, you go through and just open all the control panels, all the EQs. First, you do a delete all on reference to empty out your list. And then you open all the EQs. And now they all appear in the design tree, and you can drag them onto buttons. So now if you click on the button for that EQ, there it is. Okay? That's a good example of default control panels saving you a lot of time. We went to a lot of work on tuning this thing, didn't we? Not a lot of effort on some of these. A lot of them are very similar because they're all the same ceiling speakers. So again, not rocket science, just an example of when default control panels can make your life really, really simple. And those appear right there on the list. Any questions on that? The red thing, that is, on this particular design, you look, each source selector has a noise, a white noise, and a tone going into it. And when I left the job site, they were, call it 90% done with setting up the system. So they still needed the noise for a couple of areas. So I couldn't just take it off the source selector. But at the same token, you don't want any possibility of the end user being able to put pink noise or white noise into a zone by accident. So what we did is selecting the noise. That's great, but the noise is currently muted. How do you unmute the noise? Well, you also don't want to have any chance of the end user unmuting the noise by accident and not knowing how to remute it. So if you look at my cursor on the screen, it's a little arrow, right? When I go across the button, it turns into a hand. Go across the EQ button, it turns into a hand. Go across this button, it turns into a hand. Well, if I start at the bottom left-hand corner of my border here and just move left, turn into a hand. Why did it turn into a hand? There's an invisible button right there. I'm clicking on the invisible button and nothing is happening. Because the invisible button is tied to a logic circuit. That logic circuit is set up so that you have to click, I think, 3 times within 2 seconds before it will unmute the noise and tone. It also turns on this text indicator. Because the invisible button over the top of it, so when you're done using the noise and tone, you click to turn it off. That's what that red thing was. Sure. There you go. Oh, no, ignore all that. Just this stuff down here. That's the circuit for the hidden button. There are a couple other ways to do this, but this is the quick and dirty way. I've got a logic pulse every 3 seconds that resets this counter trigger. Counter trigger is set to 3. So you've got to click it 3 times before the counter trigger gets reset. This counter trigger is set to 1. So when this thing turns on and gets reset again, this one turns on and stays on until the off button triggers it. And it fires a preset which turns the noise on or turns the noise off. And this is the logic end that pops up that text That's what that's doing. Not related to security, but it's part of the design file. Any other questions? Okay, we're done a little bit early. So that's all I have on security. If anybody has any questions about security, I'd be happy to answer them. If not, thanks for coming. I hope you guys learned at least one thing today. Hope you get something out of the class. If nothing else, hope you got a giggle out of it when my computer freaked out. And I will see you guys in the next class, which is going to be... what are we doing tomorrow? Tomorrow is Processing Object Tour, I think. Yeah, 2 hours of the ins and outs of processing objects. Which is, I think, kind of a cool class. No questions? All right. Thanks for coming, guys. I'll see you next time.